What if the most terrifying angel in the Bible was not sent to punish, but to protect the balance between judgment and mercy? In the shadows of Revelation, Abaddon is called the King of the Abyss, the Destroyer, whose coming shakes both earth and the underworld. But why did God command Abaddon to descend, not just as an instrument of wrath, but as a cosmic gatekeeper? Was the abyss merely a prison or a vault holding back something darker than death itself? The untold reason behind Abaddon's mission reveals a secret, that even God's most fearsome agents serve a redemptive purpose. The answer will unravel the deepest mystery of divine justice and why the abyss must never open without God's command. In the silence between worlds, when the foundations of the earth still trembled with the memory of creation's first breath, a decree went forth from the heart of God, a word that shook the firmament, resounded in the courts of heaven, and traveled on currents unseen to the furthest reaches of existence. From the midst of the angelic hosts, each arrayed in radiant splendor, one figure, stilled as the voice of the Most High, called him by name: Abaddon. The name alone was a mystery, seldom spoken, always veiled in awe and dread. Among the seraphim who burn in eternal worship, among the cherubim who shield the throne with their wings, Abaddon's place was not one of music or of light, but of purpose forged in fire. He was not created for the songs of glory, nor was he woven for the ministries of mercy. He was called forth for the task that no other would accept, the guardianship of the deepest darkness, the keeping of the vault where judgment sleeps. From the moment of his forming, Abaddon bore the imprint of divine authority, a seal not of wrath but of unwavering obedience. He walked the corridors of eternity in silence, his eyes holding the memory of the flames that shaped him, his presence a paradox of terror and faithfulness. When the decree echoed through the host, even Michael, the archangel who commands the armies of heaven, turned his gaze with solemn respect. For in Abaddon's charge, all recognized the weight of something irreducible, an office that bore the echo of God's own fearsome justice. The angels gathered, watchers, messengers, heralds of good news. But only Abaddon stepped forward as the voice of the Almighty proclaimed, "The abyss is to be sealed. Its depths must be watched by one whose loyalty will never bend, whose will cannot be swayed, whose heart will not falter before what dwells below." The assembly parted, for all knew that the abyss was no ordinary place of exile. It was not simply a cavern beneath the earth, nor a pit reserved for the wicked. The abyss, the Tehom, the bottomless, was older than human sin, older even than the fall of the first rebel. It was a cosmic vault, a chamber at the foundation of creation, set apart to contain what should never touch the realms of men or angels: ancient chaos, rebellious spirits, unformed terror, and the broken fragments of forbidden knowledge. In the beginning, before Adam first drew breath, the abyss was spoken into being as a boundary, the line past which nothing unholy could cross. The deep roared with the memory of the waters before light, and God, in his wisdom, appointed a sentinel. That sentinel would be Abaddon, destroyer, not for his appetite for ruin, but for the incorruptible resolve to hold back destruction until the appointed hour. As the decree was given, Abaddon's form shone with the intensity of purpose. His countenance bore no malice, only the stern clarity of one who knows his task is greater than the comprehension of heaven or earth. He stepped forward from the ranks, the sound of his movement causing a hush to fall over the hosts. He remembered the day when the first light pierced the void and the shadow of the abyss recoiled, retreating not in defeat, but in obedience to the one who governs all. It was then that Abaddon understood. The abyss was not a prison for God's mistakes, for God makes none. It was the place where unfinished judgment and unspent fury were stored, a reservoir of power waiting for the hand of righteousness to open or close it. To gaze upon the mouth of the abyss was to behold a darkness not born of evil, but of separation, a rift held in tension by the will of the Creator. Only Abaddon could endure such a sight, for his being was made to endure what others could not witness. he descended at God's command, passing from the courts of light through the thresholds of shadow to the very edge where the worlds above give way to the deep. Around him, the atmosphere changed. The music of heaven faded into the low, ceaseless thrum of the deep's longing, as if the abyss itself waited for a word that would never come. He saw, with eyes unblinking, the guardians chained beneath the surface. Spirits cast down for rebellion in ages past, their faces twisted with memory, their voices muted by the decree of the holy. He saw the waters beneath the waters, the ancient roots of mountains, the hollow spaces where time pools and the secrets of the old world sleep. In the center of it all, a gate stood sealed by words that burn and chains that weep fire, an entrance into terrors for which language has no name. Abaddon's charge was to watch, to hold the line, to prevent the breach. He did not fear what lay beyond the gate, for fear had no place in him, only obedience. He stood as the axis between judgment and mercy, the one appointed to ensure that what was locked away would never cross the threshold until the voice of God called for its release. As he took his place, the hosts above witnessed a mystery, that even the agents of destruction are instruments of divine order, and that the abyss itself is not the realm of chaos, but of containment, the boundary established by love that will not permit the world to be consumed before redemption is complete. Abaddon's presence was a warning to every age and every watcher. There are depths reserved for judgment, powers that cannot be loosed and times appointed by God alone. And in the silent depths, as the abyss settled under his gaze, the destroyer did not utter a word, for his charge was not to speak but to stand. In that stillness, the story of the abyss and its guardian began, a testimony not to senseless wrath, but to a justice so precise that it trusts its execution only to the most faithful hand. Before we continue, if this content has blessed your life, like, comment, and share. Subscribe to the channel, and if you would like to bless the channel, click the Super Thanks button and leave an offering of any amount or become a member. That way, we can continue investing in research and improvements to bless your life even more. As Abaddon stood to the threshold where creation's light thinned and the abyss yawned wide, the command of the Most High resounded in the silent language of the Spirit, a call that compelled movement deeper than any choice or fear. With neither resistance nor hesitation, he crossed the barrier, stepping from the last glimmer of celestial radiance into a darkness that was not mere absence, but substance itself. A living shroud pressed against the underside of all that exists. Downward he went, passing through veils unseen by any mortal or angel except himself, the destroyer appointed to a post that no seraph, no cherub, no watcher could bear. In this descent, time seemed to fracture. Ages passed in a heartbeat, while a single moment stretched into eons. Here, history's wreckage and the memory of ancient rebellion lingered, coiled like smoke in the cold, heavy air. His senses, fashioned not for pleasure or pain, but for discernment and vigilance, were assaulted by visions that had broken the minds of lesser beings, the twisted forms of those called the Watchers, once radiant with knowledge and purpose, now changed by defiance, chained in darkness deeper than night. Their eyes, hollow with longing and defiance, met his with a mixture of terror and hate, for they recognized the authority in his bearing, a power not born of violence but of mandate. These were the sons of heaven who had seen the beauty of earth and envied it, who had trespassed the boundaries of their order and mingled with flesh, spawning giants and chaos until judgment sealed their fate beneath the world. The ground trembled beneath their torment, their voices echoed wordless pleas and curses, yet not a single chain yielded to their might. Abaddon's path took him further, past the iron valleys where fire dripped like slow oil, illuminating the shapes of things too old for memory, remnants of the primordial chaos, fragments of a universe unmade and remade at the word of God. He beheld the swirling void where the first darkness was gathered, the prison of Leviathan and Behemoth, the ancient enemies of order who slept coiled in sorrow, held back not by force, but by decree. The air itself seemed thick with the residue of forgotten battles and unspeakable secrets, the aftermath of angelic war and the settling of divine justice after the rebellion of Lucifer, whose pride, though legendary, was not the only transgression to trouble the heavens. Here, in these sunless halls, Abaddon was confronted with the cumulative weight of every cosmic trespass, every attempt to overturn the order written in the foundations of existence. He did not shrink before it, he did not marvel, nor did he despise those confined there, for his heart, if it could be called a heart, was given over entirely to the will that sent him. In the chill and silence, he was neither ruler nor torturer. He was not the author of their sentence, but its executor, upholding the line between the worlds by obedience alone. The imprisoned beings, for all their bitterness and cunning, understood this difference. Abaddon did not gloat or mock their fall, for he did not serve himself or his own vengeance. He walked among the cells of unending night as a sentinel, his very presence the manifestation of the decree that separated what is holy from what is profane, what can endure from what must be contained. The abyss itself responded to him, shifting and whispering in voices too vast and ancient for language, acknowledging in its own way that only one appointed by the highest could hold back the tides that pressed always against the boundaries of creation. At times, Abaddon would pause at the gates within gates, vast doors sealed with burning words, behind which lay terrors never spoken of in the upper worlds. He felt the pressure of their longing, their hunger to break free, to unleash upon the living the ruin they had once tasted and become. Yet no force, no cunning, no magic, and no malice could move the seal as long as Abaddon stood guard. He was not a jailer by desire. He had no stake in their misery, no thirst for suffering. If his charge was heavy, it was borne without question, for the command was clear and the trust absolute. Creation above slept safely, its seasons turning, its skies untouched by the horrors below, because one stood between the world and its undoing. A single line, a living decree, the boundary set by God himself. To all who looked upon him, Abaddon was the reminder that the abyss was not empty chaos, but order held in tension, that every judgment had a purpose and every boundary a guardian. The watchers who had fallen, the monsters of old, the whispers of ancient rebellion, they remained in check not by walls but by obedience. First, the obedience of the sentinel, then the obedience of the creation that submitted, whether willingly or not, to the hand that shaped it. Abaddon's descent was not merely a journey into darkness, but a demonstration that, in God's design, even the deepest pit is subject to law, and even destruction is permitted only for a season, by a hand that cannot be bribed, threatened, or turned aside. He stood not as a figure of hatred, but as the living sign that nothing, no sin, no secret, no power, could breach the order set by the word of the Most High. In the endless descent, amid the weight of eternity's unfinished judgments and the silence of 1,000 doomed ambitions, Abaddon watched and waited, not because he chose to, but because he was chosen. And the abyss, for all its restless shadows and ancient sorrow, was kept for the time being at peace. From the dawn of creation, when the foundations of the earth were still wet with the breath of the Almighty, there existed a truth hidden beneath the familiar rhythms of heaven and earth, that not all beings fashioned by the hand of God would remain faithful to their purpose, and not all realms formed within the divine architecture would remain untouched by rebellion. It was in this ancient fracture, older than the first nation, older than the first covenant, that the world would come to understand why an angel like Abaddon was not merely created, but required. The question of why the destroyer was needed begins long before Abaddon ever set his gaze upon the abyss, reaching back to the earliest age when the Watchers, appointed to observe and protect humanity, turned their eyes from their assignments to their desires. The Watchers, mighty and radiant in their original form, descended from their heavenly estates not to deliver messages or guard sacred boundaries, but to grasp what was not given to them, the daughters of men. And in that forbidden union, the earth bore a race that had no place within the divine order, the Nephilim, giants in stature and corruption, whose violence filled the land and whose existence threatened the delicate harmony God intended for creation. These beings did not merely sin. They shattered the boundaries between heaven and earth, spirit and flesh, the permitted and the profane. Their presence bent the foundations of the world, for no human king could contain them, no earthly wisdom could restrain them, and no natural force could hold them back. Humanity cried out beneath the weight of these hybrid tyrants, while the Watchers taught mankind forbidden knowledge, sorcery, warcraft, the crafting of weapons, and secrets meant only for heaven's council chambers. What began as curiosity became corruption, and corruption spread like a disease through the veins of creation. The earth groaned under their rebellion, and the heavens mourned the defilement of the order God had established. It was then that the need for something far greater than judgment by flood or flame became clear. Something, or someone, was required to maintain the boundary that the Watchers had violated so grievously, for even after their bodies fell and their monstrous children perished in the waters of the great flood, the spirits of the Watchers remained restless and dangerous, unwilling to accept the limits God had placed upon them. Their knowledge remained potent, their influence persistent, their ambition undiminished. A prison was required, not merely a grave or a dungeon, but a cosmic containment designed not only to hold their forms, but to restrain their will. This was the Abyss, fashioned not as a realm of chaos, but as the vault where everything too dangerous for creation would be sealed away until the appointed time. Yet even the Abyss required a guardian, for the Watchers were not the only beings destined to dwell there. Primordial forces from before, the ordering of the cosmos, spiritual titans formed in the darkness before light had shape, entities whose existence had been restrained by God's command, these too were bound to the deep. The Abyss needed more than chains of fire and seals inscribed with divine names. It needed a sentinel whose authority came not from brute force, but from an obedience unbreakable, a will unmovable, and a nature fashioned specifically for a task that even the greatest archangels could not endure without faltering. Abaddon was created for this reason, not as a brute instrument of destruction, but as the embodiment of a boundary. His authority was terrifying, not because he was merciless, but because he was incorruptible. He could not be swayed by the Watchers' clever words, deceived by their knowledge, or moved by their ancient beauty now twisted into forms of despair. He bore within him the capacity to withstand the weight of ages, the pressure of countless imprisoned wills pressing against the limits of the Abyss, and the whispers of rebellion echoing in the shadows. His presence was a seal stronger than the chains that bound the fallen Watchers, for while a chain may be broken by strength or cunning, the obedience of a being forged for judgment cannot be bypassed. If Abaddon stood, nothing passed. If Abaddon guarded, nothing fled. If Abaddon looked upon the gate, no force, no matter how ancient or terrible, could slip through the cracks. The prophets of old spoke in veiled terms of such a guardian, one who would be present at the opening and the closing of the deep, one whose authority was feared by demons and respected by angels, one whose purpose was hidden until the end of the age. In fragments of ancient writings, Abaddon appears not as a monster, but as a necessity, the last defense between the world and forces that would unmake it. Without Abaddon, the Abyss would not merely be a prison, it would be a wound, bleeding its corruption into creation. Without Abaddon, the Watchers' influence would leak into the world unchecked, their knowledge resurfacing in dark practices, their ambitions rekindling through vulnerable minds. Without Abaddon, the Nephilim spirits, disembodied but restless, would seek new vessels, and the primordial chaos would stir beneath the crust of the earth, rising in tides that no flood could halt. Abaddon's terrifying authority, therefore, was never about the delight of destruction, but about the preservation of creation. His title, Destroyer, is not a testament to mindless ruin, but to the absolute resolve with which he shuts the door, that nothing unholy may trespass, that nothing sentenced may escape, that nothing ancient and defiant may reach again into the world without the explicit command of the one who governs the cosmos. For God, who is merciful beyond measure, is also just beyond compromise. The Abyss is his mercy to creation, and Abaddon is his justice to the Abyss. In the great tapestry of eternity, Abaddon's existence is the thread that prevents collapse, the hinge upon which the vault turns, the final reminder that even in the depths of darkness, order reigns because God wills it. No power imprisoned there will ever rise without his word, For Abaddon stands at the threshold, bearing the authority of the Almighty, keeping watch until the hour comes when the seals are to be broken and the world is to witness once more the reason a guardian was needed in the beginning. Hidden in the architecture of creation, deeper than the roots of mountains or the memory of the oldest stars, the abyss pulses not as a void of senseless terror, but as the most severe mercy God ever ordained, a paradox that turns judgment into protection and wrath into a silent covenant. Many imagine the abyss only as a prison, a monstrous pit where the worst of existence is abandoned to endless suffering. Yet the story is far richer, older, and more beautiful than dread alone, for the abyss is a shield as well as a cell, a boundary raised not merely to punish evil, but to protect what is precious above. It is the wisdom of the Most High that measures the balance between these two purposes. Every decree of judgment is, at its heart, a preservation of hope, and every act of containment is a shelter stretched over the trembling world. In ages when rebellion once swept the heavens, and when the Watchers corrupted the order of earth, the abyss became a bulwark against collapse, a place where chaos is locked away so that creation might breathe, grow, and find its way toward redemption. When the flood came and swept the Nephilim and the polluted works of the fallen beneath the rising waters, it was not merely retribution, it was deliverance for those who remained, a cleansing to reset the world for a future of promise. Yet judgment could not be an end in itself, for God's justice is never a ravenous fire, eager only to consume. Rather, it is a surgeon's flame, cauterizing what would spread decay, but sparing the life that still beats within. The abyss, then, is not hell's outer darkness, but the vault where unredeemed destruction is held until the appointed time. In this, Abaddon's station is revealed not merely as that of a warden, but as a guardian of equilibrium. By his unwavering watch, the monsters of chaos are confined, their contagion checked, and their ambition chained, so that every sunrise on the earth above is the fruit of mercy renewed. While judgment reigns beneath, hope is permitted to blossom above, for the boundary that cannot be crossed from below means that humanity is free to seek the face of God, to repent, to hope, and to walk the path of restoration. It is the patience of God, not only His power, that stands behind the unyielding seals and the sleepless eyes of the destroyer. Each day that the abyss remains closed is another day for repentance, for reconciliation, for healing. Even the rebels imprisoned there, for all their malice, are held in a strange mercy. They are denied the chance to corrupt further, but not denied the knowledge that their defeat is neither random nor impersonal, but just and measured. Through Abaddon's obedience, the world is reminded that no evil escapes notice, no rebellion is left unaddressed, yet also that God does not unleash destruction without cause or abandon the world to chaos without restraint. The abyss stands as a living parable, its darkness the backdrop against which light is seen as more precious, its silence a warning that the wages of cosmic pride are real, and yet its unbroken gates a promise that judgment does not rule unchecked. Abaddon does not delight in the power he holds, nor does he wield it without limit. He is the expression of a higher mercy that sees farther than punishment and deeper than vengeance. His presence ensures that chaos cannot break free until the hour when judgment is not only deserved, but necessary to fulfill the story of redemption itself. Meanwhile, the world above continues to spin through its seasons. Nations rise and fall, hearts break and heal, prayers ascend and sometimes seem unanswered, but always, whether known or unknown, the shield remains. The prophets glimpsed it in visions. Ezekiel beheld wheels within wheels, order turning in secret, a machinery of heaven that never sleeps. John saw the angel with the key to the abyss, standing ready, not as a destroyer unleashed, but as a servant awaiting a command from the throne. The scriptures do not hide the terror of what lies beneath, but neither do they veil the hope of what is preserved above. In every era, the sealed abyss is a testimony that God is patient, not wanting any to perish, but all to come to repentance. And even when the world trembles at the thought of the abyss opening, it is invited to see that the very existence of such a barrier is a gift, proof that mercy sits atop judgment, and that the boundaries drawn by the holy are as much for healing as for discipline. In the end, the story of the abyss and its guardian is not only about chains and darkness, but about the bright line that runs through all history. That even in wrath, God remembers mercy. That even where judgment falls, hope is never extinguished, and that through the silent, steadfast presence of Abaddon, the cycle of mercy continues, undaunted, until the last page is turned and the world is made new. Yet, for all the steadfastness of Abaddon and the perfect security of the abyss beneath his guardianship, the scriptures whisper of a time yet to come, a moment when the key will turn in the lock, the ancient gates will creak, and the seal, long guarded, will be broken at last. The prophets saw it from afar, and their visions flickered with dread and awe. In the book of Revelation, John recounts the sounding of the fifth trumpet, the signpost of a turning age. And I saw a star fallen from heaven to earth, and he was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. He opened the shaft of the abyss, and from the shaft rose smoke, like the smoke of a great furnace. At the center of this vision stands Abaddon, Apollyon in Greek, the king over the beings of the deep, not acting in rebellion, but in perfect response to the authority that gives him the key. The world above will shudder at the sight, for the release of the abyss is not an accident or a triumph of evil, but the execution of a purpose known only to God. The key is not seized by force or trickery, but placed into the hand of the appointed one, by the will of the throne. Ancient apocalyptic texts echo the same theme, describing the time when the vault that has held corruption, pride, and violence for ages will be unsealed so that what has been hidden may be revealed and all accounts be brought into the light. The world will not be caught unawares by fate, but warned in advance. Prophets, apostles, and the testimony of the Spirit all declare that the hour of unsealing is both a reckoning and a revelation. In that day, Abaddon's authority is no longer to prevent, but to release, not to shield, but to execute the final phase of judgment ordained from before the foundations of the earth. Smoke pours forth, a darkness that blinds and terrifies, and with it locusts like none the world has seen, symbolic of the torments and confusions that follow when the restraints of heaven are lifted for a season. Yet the narrative does not present Abaddon as a renegade, but as a servant. He opens the abyss only at the explicit command of the Most High, never by his own ambition or malice. Destruction itself, personified in the destroyer, is shown to be subject to the sovereignty of God, as if to say that even the most fearsome powers in creation are but instruments in the hand of the one who governs all. The horror of the unsealing is not a loss of control, but its ultimate demonstration. The key is given, the seal is broken, because justice requires that all secrets be exposed, all debts settled, all hearts tried. The world, dazzled by its own strength and lulled by the shield it has taken for granted, is suddenly confronted with the reality that judgment long deferred is not judgment forgotten. In that moment, the obedience of Abaddon becomes a sign and a warning, a final proof that the Lord of the Abyss is not the devil, but the living God. The abyss is not a realm claimed by darkness, but a vault administered by the decree of heaven, and its king is a servant, not a tyrant. When the gates open, every being above and below, faithful and fallen, will see that the most terrifying powers bow to God's command. The lesson is as ancient as creation. Destruction cannot move unless it is loosed by holiness. Wrath is permitted only so far as it serves the design of mercy and the vindication of justice. Those who read the words of prophecy are warned not to take lightly the days of peace, nor to imagine that the boundaries that separate chaos from creation can be moved by any hand but God's. For the hour of unsealing is not only a spectacle of terror, but a revelation of order, showing that the one who made the world is the only one who can judge it, and that even the abyss is part of the story of redemption, not its end. As the world trembles at the unfolding of these mysteries, the call goes out. Prepare your hearts, for the day comes when every shadow must give account, and every shield will be weighed against the justice and patience that sustained it. Before we continue, If this content has blessed your life, like, comment, and share. Subscribe to the channel, and if you would like to bless the channel, click the Super Thanks button and leave an offering of any amount or become a member. That way, we can continue investing in research and improvements to bless your life even more. The hour of unsealing stands as a crossroad in the story of judgment and mercy, a final sign that all things, even destruction itself, are subject to the sovereignty and wisdom of the eternal God. Beneath the weight of millennia, beneath the seal that no hand but God's could forge or break, the true meaning of Abaddon's long vigil in the abyss waits like a hidden jewel, glimmering with a light that only eternity can reveal. For though the eyes of mortals see Abaddon as the destroyer, the warden of terrors, the agent through whom the pit remains closed or is opened in the hour of judgment, there is a secret reason for his mission that surpasses even the fearsome work of containment and release. The Almighty, whose wisdom spans the gulf between creation and chaos, did not appoint Abaddon merely to punish, nor to vent the wrath of heaven against what is foul and fallen. Instead, God placed him at the very gates of the abyss as a cosmic witness, a living testimony etched into the fabric of spiritual reality that all judgment, however dreadful in the eyes of men or angels, serves a higher purpose rooted not only in justice, but in love. It is Abaddon's presence, constant and unswerving, that declares to every power in the unseen world that no decree of wrath, no season of darkness, no descent into destruction ever escapes the orbit of God's command. Every imprisoned watcher, every spirit of chaos, every whisper of rebellion that has echoed in the halls of the abyss knows, as surely as the stones know the chisel, that the abyss is not ruled by evil, nor is its darkness a kingdom won by violence. The abyss is held by the will of God, and its king is the servant of that will. Proof that no force, not pride nor corruption, nor the memory of ancient rebellion, can ever outmaneuver the sovereignty of the one who sits above the circle of the earth. In this way, Abaddon is not the herald of despair, but the messenger of assurance, that the world is not a battleground abandoned to chaos, but a stage upon which every act, even the darkest, is woven into a story whose end has always been mercy. In the silent language of obedience, Abaddon proclaims to the angels above and the captives below that there is no abyss so deep, no night so long, that God's purpose cannot reach it, or that his light cannot define its borders. Even when the abyss opens and destruction pours forth for a season, even when judgment shudders through the nations like a storm, the limits of ruin are marked by love. The moment of release is decided by the same hand that sets the boundaries of the sea. The truth that thunders in the heart of the destroyer's mission is not that God delights in suffering, nor that he loses control at the hour of wrath, but that his justice is absolute because his mercy is ultimate. It is for this reason that Abaddon was chosen, to be the seal that no darkness can break, the executor that no rebellion can bribe, and above all, the sign that even the power to destroy is a gift entrusted only for the good of creation. His task is a warning to every realm, a comfort to every trembling soul, and a humiliation to every proud adversary who imagines, in folly, that God's decrees can be twisted or resisted. When the great unsealing comes, when the abyss is unlocked and the age of reckoning dawns, the sight of Abaddon moving not in vengeance, but in pure obedience will be the final testimony that all is not chaos but order, not fate but providence, not abandonment, but the last measure of divine faithfulness. For in the end, Abaddon's watch is not simply to hold back evil, but to declare to every age and every power that the throne remains unmoved, the judge remains wise, and the hope of mercy endures even through the hour of darkest judgment. When the final hour of reckoning has run its course, when every secret has been exposed to the light and every unrepentant power has met its destined end, a silence will descend upon creation deeper and brighter than the hush at the dawn of time. In that silence, the abyss, once the vault of chaos and judgment, the echo chamber of rebellion and regret, will stand empty and powerless. The day will come when the key that once opened its gates is returned to the hand that forged it, and the voice that summoned Abaddon to his post will speak a new command. The destroyer, who for ages stood watch at the threshold between worlds, whose unwavering presence held back the tides of destruction and contained the memory of cosmic rebellion, will lift his gaze as the last captives are judged and the last shadows flee before the face of the Eternal. Abaddon's task will be complete, not because evil has triumphed, but because justice has been satisfied, mercy has accomplished its mission, and the purpose of the abyss has been fulfilled. What began as a chamber of dread and a barrier against unmaking will be sealed forever, not with sorrow or rage, but with a joy that flows from the restoration of all things. The angel once known as the Destroyer will stand, not as a warden haunted by the cries of the condemned, but as a witness to the peace that now reigns, a servant who kept his charge until the end, a symbol not of wrath, but of holy order restored. Creation itself will be remade. The new heavens and the new earth will shine with a radiance that never dims, for nothing remains to threaten, nothing remains to accuse, and the scars of judgment are transformed into marks of glory. The abyss, for all its terror, was never meant as the last word. Its story was a chapter in the greater tale, a severe mercy that made space for hope, a boundary that preserved the possibility of redemption. In the courts of eternity, Abaddon's record will be the proof that even the harshest decrees of God were ordained for good, that every seal, every watch, every moment of darkness served to prepare the world for the dawn when the King would declare, "Behold, I make all things new." In that new creation, the destroyer becomes the guardian no longer needed, the enforcer of wrath transformed into the living emblem of divine faithfulness, standing as a testimony to angels and redeemed alike that the story of the abyss ends not in exile, but in homecoming. The vault that once separated worlds is closed for the last time, not in fear, but in fulfillment, and the harmony of creation resounds with a music that no darkness can disturb. This is the final revelation, that God's justice and mercy are inseparable, that every boundary he draws is for love, and that even the abyss must yield to the power of redemption. The journey that began with a decree and a descent now ends with a world made whole, and the angel who once guarded the gate becomes the silent witness to a joy without end, a story written not in the ashes of judgment, but in the light of everlasting peace.